kill all the terrorists that you want, but how can you justify bombing a hospital, a place that should be illegal to bomb during wartime?
We are now learning that hundreds of people have now died in a strike on a Gaza hospital. This comes as the IDF jets just continue to attack Hamas targets, killing the terror group's head of military intelligence overnight.
Negotiators are also still talking with Hamas about the release of around 200 hostages that are still being held in Gaza. Palestinian and Israeli officials now say around 4,000 people total on both sides have died since the fighting started on October 7th. Let's bring in ABC's Inez de la Cuetara. She's in Jerusalem. Inez, what are you learning about this strike on the hospital and how are things there tonight?
Hey guys, yeah, some devastating news out of Gaza there. We are learning that a hospital was struck. This is the Baptist City, the Baptist Hospital in Gaza City, and we are learning at least 200 to 300 people may have been killed in that single strike. The death toll expected to rise. These are people.
Wow, that's crazy. So many innocent people killed because a government is trying to target a few people, and they're going to justify the deaths of these innocent people because they're going after, you know, certain groups, and supposedly uh, the innocent people always harbor the terrorists, when that's not the case. It's this should be considered a war crime to strike a hospital.
Who were likely being treated for injuries related to the war already. We're seeing images emerging now on social media of the hospital in flames, people running around, doctors rushing to get patients out and get patients help. And it's looking like totally devastating situation there. We're seeing reports as well that as many as 5,000 people may have been sheltering in place at that hospital. We've talked about this as the IDF has called for civilians to flee the north of Gaza and Gaza City. A lot of these people have nowhere to go, and so they've been going to places like hospitals and like schools to take shelter. And so it's very likely that there were people sheltering in place at that hospital. We don't know just how many people. We don't know if that's the case, but we are starting to see reports there emerging that people were there looking for shelter and certainly being treated for injuries. We're expecting again the death toll to rise, but this could be the deadliest strike of the war so far.
You know, and as targeting a hospital, and Israel does have most of its weapons have guiding systems. It is without justification, unless there was something we don't know about, it would be a war crime. So what are we hearing from Israel about the bombing of a hospital? And what also are we hearing about the Hamas head of a military intelligence that they claim to have killed?
Yeah, I'm glad that he pointed out that this is a war crime if there's no real justification for striking. And honestly, killing 200 to 300 people or more over one or two people is not justification.
Yeah, so when it comes to the hospital, I mean, it's a very new situation. This happened just a few moments ago, so it's very much unclear what happened there. We don't know if it was an IDF strike. We don't know if it was a misfired Hamas rocket. We just don't know at this point. This really happened just moments ago, so we'll see what happens there. But you're right. I mean, the IDF has been relentlessly striking the Gaza Strip, specifically the north of Gaza, and they did take out earlier today the former head of military intelligence there for Hamas. So this is a top Hamas operative, part of the military wing of Hamas, certainly a big get for the IDF. We know this is someone who was responsible in the past for the production and development of weapons. He was responsible for carrying out, according to the IDF, terror attacks on Israeli citizens and on soldiers. And I think most importantly, he was someone who was in charge of figuring out the targets for Hamas rockets. So a big deal. The IDF certainly touting that as a win, guys.
We should point out, too, we're waiting for a Pentagon briefing here back in the U.S., hopefully to get more information possibly on this strike, in addition to the readiness of troops here in the U.S. to possibly head to the Middle East. Meanwhile, let's talk about the looming ground invasion.